I always imagined my baby shower would feel like a celebration of new beginnings, a joyful gathering of family and friends to welcome the life growing inside me. I pictured laughter echoing through a sun-drenched room, delicate pastel balloons bobbing on strings, and heartfelt hugs from people who truly loved me. That's what I imagined. That's what I hoped for. What I got was something else. Let me back up a little. My name is Rachel. I'm 32, married to Daniel, my college sweetheart, my favorite person in the world, my absolute rock through everything. We live in a quiet suburb just outside Seattle, in a modest little blue house with a messy garden and too many mugs. Our life isn't glamorous, but it's ours. After trying for nearly 2 years, we finally got the news. We were pregnant. And from the first second, Daniel was all in, researching strollers and reading baby books before I could even finish crying over the test strip. My relationship with my mother has always been complicated, not the fiery, yelling everyday kind of bad, more the quiet, insidious type. The kind where you don't realize until you were 30-something that the things she said to you when you were 11 are still echoing in your head, that the shame you carry didn't grow there on its own. Growing up, I learned early that my mother Susan saw the world through a lens of control. Appearances mattered more than emotions. Perfection was preferable to honesty, and her approval was always just out of reach. My father left when I was 7, and I don't blame him anymore. He faded out of the picture slowly, like steam on a mirror, until it was just Mom and me, and later, her second husband Greg, who mostly kept to himself and watched a lot of golf. I moved out at 19, paid for college with scholarships and 2 jobs, built my own life from the ground up. But no matter how far I moved, emotionally or geographically, my mother had a way of worming her way back in. So when Daniel and I decided to host the baby shower, we agreed. Minimal involvement from Mom. She could come, of course. She'd be invited. But I wanted this to be a celebration, not a performance. I had one rule: no surprises. And I told everyone that, multiple times. The day of the shower arrived like a warm, slow bloom. It was mid-April. Tulips poked up through the flower beds like shy guests. Daniel had rented a small event space in a local botanical garden, a place filled with green light and the soft trickle of fountains. It was perfect. I wore a floaty lavender dress that skimmed my baby bump, and for the first time in months, I felt beautiful. I felt ready. People started arriving around noon. Friends from college, my co-workers from the library, Daniel's sister Hannah, who flew in from Phoenix. Hugs, laughter, little gasps at the decorations. Everything was going smoothly until my mother walked in. She arrived 20 minutes late, wearing a cream-colored suit and heels too tall for gravel paths. She was flanked by Greg, who looked like he wished he were anywhere else. She smiled that brittle, camera-ready smile that always made me brace a little inside. And she was holding something. It was a box, gift-wrapped, big, almost as wide as her torso, and covered in gold foil and a white bow. The kind of box that said, "I spent more than I should have, and I want everyone to know it." I frowned. Daniel, bless him, noticed immediately. He took my hand and whispered, "Want me to hide it until after?" I shook my head. Let's just get through this. The party itself started out well. We played some silly games. People made guesses about the baby's due date and weight. Someone spilled lemonade on the gift table and Daniel handled it with the calm of a dad already in training. I tried not to glance at the gold box, but every time I looked, it was still there, sitting at the top of the pile like a glimmering threat. About an hour in, it was time for gifts. I didn't want to open them all in front of everyone, but people insisted. There's something weirdly ritualistic about opening presents at a baby shower, everyone watching you, as if the tissue paper holds secrets. Diaper bags, onesies, handmade blankets. So many sweet and practical things. I started to relax again, until we got to the gold box. I hesitated. Everyone was watching. My mother was beaming, her eyes locked on mine. "I thought we weren't doing big gifts," I said softly, almost to myself. "Oh, sweetie, she chirped. This one's special. I swallowed. The box was heavier than I expected, taped within an inch of its life. Daniel leaned in to help, but she waved him off. No, no, just Rachel. I want her to see it first. The hairs on my arms stood up. Something in her tone, something rehearsed. I peeled back the ribbon, sliced through the tape, lifted the lid, and froze. Inside the box was a baby book, but not just any baby book. It was my baby book, my own, from 32 years ago, and it had been defaced. She had taken my baby book, the one I hadn't seen in years, the one I vaguely remembered tucked in a closet somewhere, and had rewritten entire sections, taped in new photos, photos of herself. Pages where my milestones should have been were instead filled with long, flowing journal entries about her pregnancy with me, her struggles, her sacrifices, her suffering, her beauty. There was even a full-page glossy photograph of her from 1991, posing in a maternity gown, smiling in soft focus. Oh my God, I muttered. She leaned forward. I thought it would be poetic, a full circle moment. This is your legacy, sweetheart. I blinked, my hands shaking. Page after page of her. Not me, not my baby, not the family Daniel and I were building, but her grief, her martyrdom. I looked up. The room had gone quiet. Daniel's brow was furrowed. Hannah looked confused. Some of my co-workers were glancing awkwardly at their phones. And my mother? She was glowing. I even included a letter, she added, tapping a sealed envelope taped to the inside cover. For when your child is born. I wrote it as if I were speaking to them. Isn't that sweet? I couldn't breathe. Suddenly, the soft edges of the garden room felt too bright to sharp. I closed the lid, gently, as calmly as I could. Thank you, I said, voice flat. I'll look at it later. She looked a little wounded by that. But it's the centerpiece. Daniel touched my arm. Let's get some air. We walked out into the garden. The sun was still shining. A butterfly danced above the lavender. But inside me, something had fractured. Are you okay? Daniel asked. I nodded too quickly. She made it about herself. Again, like always, he hesitated. Want to go home? No, I said. Not yet. But I need to figure out what the hell that was. That night, after everyone had gone home and the rented chairs were stacked on the curb, I sat in our living room and opened the baby book again. The defaced one, my mother's strange, narcissistic gift. And I read the letter. That's when things got worse. Because the letter wasn't just a sweet message to my unborn child. It was a warning. I wasn't sure what I expected. A poem? A blessing? Some nostalgic retelling of my infancy? But what I got was something else entirely. The envelope was sealed with a gold sticker and smelled faintly of her perfume, something powdery and cloying that brought back memories of her bathroom counter and the way she used to press kisses onto my forehead, smudging lipstick. Inside was a letter written in her unmistakable looping script. 3 pages, thick, expensive stationery. I sat on the edge of the couch, the only light coming from the lamp by the window. The baby book sat in my lap like a time bomb. I began to read. Dear grandchild, if you're reading this, you've already been born, or you will be soon. I wanted to speak to you directly before the world fills your head with stories about who I am. You see, your mother and I have had a complicated relationship. She doesn't always understand the sacrifices I made for her. She doesn't remember the pain of childbirth, the endless nights, or the loneliness I endured to keep her clothed, fed, and educated. I did it all alone. Your grandfather left us when she was just a girl, and I never recovered, but I held it together for her. I was both mother and father. I know your mother thinks I'm overbearing, controlling even, but she wasn't an easy child. She was willful, cold, distant. Even as a baby, she never reached for me the way I did for her. I used to stand outside her room and listen for her to cry just to feel needed. Maybe she'll tell you I meddled too much, that I made her life about me. But the truth is, I gave her my life, every ounce of it. I loved her too hard, and maybe that was my mistake. She's having you now, a baby of her own, and maybe this time, she'll understand. Maybe when she sees your face, she'll realize how much it hurts to love someone who doesn't seem to want you. So if someday your mother tells you to stay away from me if she paints me as a villain, remember that there is always another side, and I hope you'll want to know it. Love, your grandmother Susan. By the end, my hands were trembling. The words blurred together, not because I was crying, I wasn't, not yet, but because something in me had gone numb, cold, as though she'd reached through time and stabbed something soft and private in me I hadn't known was exposed. I folded the letter slowly, like it might shatter. I placed it back in the envelope, and then I sat there for a long time. Daniel was in the nursery, assembling the crib. He came in around midnight and found me still on the couch. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at me, then at the envelope. Want to talk about it? He asked gently. She wrote to our baby, I said. But it wasn't a letter. It was an accusation, a manipulation. He sat beside me. I handed him the letter. He read it in silence, his face a slow burning storm. When he finished, he put it down and said, "We need boundaries." Real ones, I nodded. But I didn't speak, because the truth was, a part of me still wanted to understand, still wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, my mother meant well, that this was her twisted, broken way of loving me. But another part, the louder, older part, knew better. The next day, I called her. I told her calmly that I didn't appreciate the gift, that the baby book had been altered in a way that felt invasive and self-centered, that the letter wasn't appropriate. There was a long pause on the line. I thought it was beautiful, she said, her voice tight. Everyone at the party thought it was beautiful. I'm not everyone, and it's not about them, she sniffed. You've always been ungrateful, Rachel. Always. I tried to give you something meaningful, and you twist it. It wasn't for me. It was for you. Just like everything always is, you're going to push me away. Just like your father. The silence stretched. And then I said, very softly, maybe he had a reason. Weeks passed. I didn't block her. I didn't cut her off. But I stopped answering right away. Stopped engaging. I didn't send her ultrasound updates. I didn't invite her to the hospital tour. And Daniel, usually the peacemaker, stood firmly beside me. She's not coming to the birth, he said one night. I don't care if she waits in the parking lot. I don't want her in that room, I agreed. But the drama wasn't over, because 2 weeks before my due date, something strange happened. I got a call from a woman named Angela. She said she was a cousin on my father's side, someone I barely remembered. We hadn't spoken since I was a child. She said she'd heard I was pregnant and wanted to send a gift. It was a sweet call, simple, but something about it felt off. How did you know I was expecting? I asked. Oh, she replied. Susan reached out. She said she wanted to reconnect everyone before the baby came. My stomach dropped. My mother had started contacting people I hadn't seen in decades. Extended family, old friends, even a professor from college. Reaching out, talking about me, about her grandchild, about wanting to build bridges. She made it sound like we were estranged, like I was unstable, like she needed to intervene. I confronted her, texted, called. She didn't respond for 2 days. When she finally picked up, she acted surprised. I was just trying to help, she said. You've pushed everyone away. I thought maybe, if they reached out, you'd soften. For the baby, I'm not a problem to be solved. You're pregnant and emotional. You don't see clearly right now. I hung up. I couldn't do it anymore. Daniel and I sat down that night and made a decision. No contact, until further notice. Our daughter, Lily Rose, was born on a quiet Monday morning in late June. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Perfect lungs, bright, alert eyes. She latched within minutes. Daniel cried more than I did. It was the best day of my life. I didn't call my mother, but she found out anyway. Because by the time we got home from the hospital, there were flowers waiting. A huge bouquet of lilies. No card, just a silver envelope. Inside, another letter. Dear Rachel, I know you're angry. I know you think I've done something unforgivable. But someday, you'll understand why I did what I did. You think I'm controlling, but I was preparing you for motherhood, for the loneliness, for the invisible sacrifices. You'll find yourself awake at a.m., holding that baby and wondering if anyone sees you, if anyone understands. And maybe, just maybe, you'll remember me. And then, you'll forgive me. I didn't finish the letter. I shredded it. Daniel took the remains and threw them away while I rocked Lily in the nursery. That night, I held her close and whispered into her hair, "You don't owe me anything. You don't have to love me the way I want. You just have to be you." She didn't answer, of course, but she looked up at me with wide, unblinking eyes, like she saw me, really saw me, and in that moment, I felt the chain break, not just between me and my mother, but between generations, between guilt and shame, between performance and love. I didn't need to be my mother, and Lily didn't need to heal me. We would build something new. It's been 6 months. My mother sends gifts, cards, emails, all unopened. I still haven't written back, because for the first time in my life, I don't feel guilty. I feel free. I'm not angry anymore. Just done. The gift she gave me, the one I didn't ask for, it wasn't the baby book. It was clarity. And I'm never giving it back.